The Savage Orient, long shrouded in mystery and speculation from Western explorers the world over. From the days of the famed Silk Road all the way up into the present, the East has been a point of fascination and skepticism. The allure of the foreign is nothing new. Neither is the fear of it, but the philosophies, views, and traditions of a world that seems so divorced from European influence draws us like no other. And in the grand tradition of the exotic being alluring and imposing in one package, authors would look to their new neighbors for new stories. One such author would end up creating a legend that looms large in our pop culture, hands moving and influence felt even when people feared to speak his name. Enter the Fiendish Dr. Fu Manchu. The Doctor was created in 1912 by British author Sax Rohmer, owner of the best author portrait I've ever seen. And he also effectively created the modern concept of the supervillain in the process. His duels with Scotland Yard agent Sir Dennis Nayland Smith spanned 13 novels over the next 50 years, with plenty of adaptations in between. We take to the Middle East for the Doctor's 5th novel outing, as he attempts to create a collision course between religious cults and the world at large, hopefully smashing Smith right in the middle, as he dons the mask of Fu Manchu. Rohmer was the pen name of Arthur Henry Ward, a civil servant turned full-time author who, like many men of his age, were swept up in the early 20th century fascination with the occult and mysticism, on which he wrote several books, and led him to being a member of the secret society, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. In the midst of one of his occult activities, Rohmer wrote that he asked a Ouija board how he would make his fortune. The spirits reportedly affecting the board spelled out Chinaman. Yeah! Taking this sound advice, Rohmer dreamed up the mad genius from the far-flung Orient, and it found near instant success, with 3 novels releasing in just 4 years, the last being published in 1917. After the novels were picked up by the now booming motion picture industry, Rohmer decided to return to the characters 14 years later with the daughter of Fu Manchu, and making the unorthodox decision to have allowed time to pass in real time, bringing us new characters alongside the now older and wiser original cast. Our novel today serves as a direct sequel, though I got along pretty easily with the context given. One of the beauties of pulp and men's action. This copy is actually a first edition, sporting this cool engraving on the front, and all the things I love about these antique books. Cool illustrations throughout, and quirks like specifying chapters not simply with numbers, but the typically spoken descriptor of the 25th or 32nd chapter, for instance. This one was even apparently a library book. Get to see the last time it was checked out. Like I said in the last talk, we don't get to have as much fun with new editions. Our story finds us in Isfahan, the center of modern Iran, the resting spot for the team of archaeologists and scholars that have uncovered a strange set of artifacts in Khorasan, a historic boundary covering portions of modern-day Turkmenistan, western Afghanistan, and eastern Iran. Their findings are the scriptures and vestments of a long-dead Islamic prophet, his scriptures etched into discs of gold, and his holy symbols being a golden sword and the mask of the title. This discovery causes rumblings in the regions, as legends foretold that when his artifacts reappeared, the prophet would rise again to lead his followers. A proper King in the Mountain story. Through the eyes of series newcomer Shan Grayville, the book opens with the murder of one of the party members, the assassin failing to obtain the treasure, but its protector paying with his life. Shan, there was a most awful cry from Dr. Van Berg's room a few minutes ago. Stricken motionless with horror, I stood staring upon Dr. Van Berg, where he lay under the light of my torch. His heavy body was huddled in so strange a position that, what with anger, regret, fear, and other unnameable emotions, I could not at first realize what had happened. He was lying across the green box. He lay in such a way that his big body almost obscured the box from my view, but now I saw that his powerful arms were outstretched, that his fingers were locked in a death grip upon the handles at either end. I wanted the life of the cowardly assassin who had done Van Berg to death. Big, gentle, fearless Van Berg, for here was murder. Cold-blooded murder. Unsure of what to make of the situation, they are both surprised and delighted to find at their doorstep Nayland Smith. Something I had vaguely prayed for, something I had dared not to expect, had actually happened. A tall, lean man with clean-shaven face so sun-baked as it resembled that of an Arab stood in the doorway. "Sir Dennis! Sir Dennis!" I cried. "This is almost too wonderful." Sir Dennis Nayland Smith, Assistant Commissioner of Scotland Yard, one of my chief's oldest friends, and the one man in the world whom I would have chosen to be with us now. This delight turns to dismay when Smith determines only one man could be behind the conspiracy. If any doubt had remained in my mind, Barton, it would have been removed last night. I both heard and saw him from my post on the minaret. The man who walked the street last night, just before the second attempt on the green box, was Dr. Fu Manchu. Dr. Fu Manchu. Nayland Smith believed that the agents of Dr. Fu Manchu had been responsible for the death of Van Berg and for the theft of the green box. This, I reflected, could mean only one thing. Dr. Fu Manchu was responsible for the wave of fanaticism sweeping through the East, for that singular rumor that a prophet was reborn, which, if Humphreys and Petrie were to be believed, Eleazar already proclaimed. The Doctor is moving pieces on the board to destabilize the region, and it's up to our heroes to thwart his plans. The crew's attempts to escape his influence lead them from Iran into Cairo, Egypt. There, joined by original series narrator Dr. Petrie, Shan encounters someone he recognizes at their hotel. My hand came out of my pocket. I took the unlighted pipe from between my teeth and stared. The woman who wore a green sheath-like dress and gold shoes had a delicate indolence of carriage, wholly oriental. About one bare ivory arm, extending from just below the elbow to the wrist, she wore a massive jade bangle in 6 or 7 loops. A golden girdle, not unlike a sword belt, was about her waist, and a tight green turban on her head. Her appearance then was sufficiently remarkable. Either I had become the victim of an optical delusion, traceable to events of the past few days, or the woman in the gold mask was Fu Manchu's daughter. "Stay here," I set out at the double, pulling up when I gained the entrance to the alley and peering into the utter blackness. I heard the distant rumbling of thunder. It died away into oppressive silence. No sound of footsteps reached me, and there was no glimmer of light ahead. Never a sound came, only an increase of darkness, a deadly sickness, and a maddening knowledge that among fools in the land of Egypt, I might claim high rank. Mr. Grayville, I trust that any slight headache which you have experienced on awakening has now disappeared. Shan's kidnapping is followed soon after by a mind-controlled capture of his fiancée and Sir Barton's niece Rima, and turned into a series of cat-and-mouse encounters full of secret codes, amnesia, prisoner swaps, and of course, several face-offs between Smith and Fu Manchu himself. Can our heroes prevent a religious uprising led by the Mad Doctor? The knowledge that this is what we today would call a legacy sequel series makes for an interesting read. Shan and Rima as our new blood make for a fun pair and allow us to be better filled in on Dr. Fu Manchu, his daughter, Fa Lao Su, and their previous machinations without it feeling out of place. The romance, which Shan informs us that he is, and I quote, hungrily in love with her, also provides a bit of tension, with Fa Lao Su taking a shine to Shan, creating a strange, dubiously consenting love triangle. "Shan, dear, I know you are very sleepy, but it's getting cold and late, too." I stirred lazily, opening my eyes. I was pillowed on a warm shoulder, a bare arm encircling my neck. That silvery voice had awakened me. A long jade earring touched my cheek coldly, and caressing fingers stroked my hair. Yes, I was with Fa Lao Su, somewhere on the banks of the Nile, and I was content, utterly, rapturously content. "Goodbye, Shan, dear. Please go back to bed." Hot tears burned my eyes. I felt that life had nothing left for me, but I obeyed. I opened my eyes. Strangest fact of all, I loathed the memory of Fa Lao Su. I was ashamed, humiliated, utterly overcome by those dream recollections. I had desired her, adored her, covered her with kisses, while now, my true waking self, I knew that there was only one woman in the world for me, and that woman was Rima. Smith and Petrie act as a Holmes and Watson-style duo, having battled the Doctor before, but never taking that knowledge as reason to underestimate their foe. Barton, in my mind, is the standout of the crew, as the loud and brash subject matter expert who's constantly clashing with Smith for authority.
There's one thing I can't stand, Grayville, and that's being ordered about. Laterally, I've had too much of it, altogether too much of it.
He brought his fist down on the table with a bang.
But we shall see who scores in the end. As for that slimy swine, Aiden, he's no more a solicitor than I'm a barber.
Wrong again, Barton. Came quietly. Glancing up, I saw that Nayland Smith had just come through the doors behind us.
I'm apparently always wrong.
Then, of course, there's Dr. Fu Manchu. Well, technically the literary offspring of the Napoleon of crime, Professor Moriarty, and the Australian occult super genius, Dr. Nicola, Fu Manchu is closer to the image we conjure when we think of the capital S supervillain. He has a genius-level intellect, creating strategies and plans that vex everyone that faces him, and almost always makes him 2 steps ahead of his foes. That same intellect allows him to devise new means of torture, covert murder, and in a fun contrast to his aging nemesis, even reversing the ravages of time, making him younger and stronger as the book goes on.
You cannot have failed to note an improvement in my physical condition since we last met, Mr. Grayville. This is due to the success of an inquiry which has engaged me for no less than a period of 25 years. I have at last obtained the formula elixir vitae for which the old philosophers sought in vain.
The previous book and this one move the action from China to the Middle East, reinforcing the idea that Fu Manchu has global influence, his tendrils reaching far and wide in a crime ring hell-bent on unseating world powers in favor of his own. His agents are from all over the world, some from his native China, others from the local territory, or Africa, or Greece, or Britain. The mere mention of his name makes people shudder, and he looms large over our heroes, even when he's not in the scene. Fa Lo Su is the image of her father, although perhaps compromised by her attraction to Shan. She's formidable and feared almost as equally, with the full knowledge that her plans may be completely separate from the Doctor's grand machinations.
Love dreams are bittersweet, Shan, because we know that we are dreaming.
The worldwide omnipresent threat Romer created solidified the trope of the supervillain for pulpsters, adventure writers, and men's action to come. The mad scientist hell-bent on world domination with unseen plans ever marching toward the goal is a comic book and action staple, one to be widely emulated in too many ways to count. Throw a dart at your favorite superheroes rogues gallery, and you'll hit one of Fu Manchu's children. If we want direct ties, Marvel Comics took Romer's creation to create Shang-Chi, son of Fu Manchu, who does battle against his evil father alongside Smith and Petrie, as well as the children and relatives of Shan and Rima. For a less direct tie, look no further than the ringed genius and Iron Man nemesis, the Mandarin, or the ruler of Mongo, Ming the Merciless. And though Denny O'Neil denies us, far be it from me to disrespect his name, if I were to describe to you an Eastern genius with a foreign name and an affinity for green, whose shadowy assassins and agents work globally to forward his influence while he maintains his youth through a mysterious liquid and has a gorgeous but deadly daughter who has the hots for one of our heroes, another character may come to mind. But we have yet to address the true elephant in the room. Outside of the iconic mustache that bears his name, Fu Manchu is primarily remembered as an example of what would be known as the Yellow Peril, a fear and a generation of cultural relations between Western countries and Eastern countries. To put it bluntly, Fu Manchu is seen as a racist caricature, and Sax Rohmer as a peddler of fear to his English-speaking audience. To look at history, while contact with Chinese immigrants and dignitaries have been present back to the late 1600s in both Britain and the future United States, the real boom came during the 19th century, with the East India Company importing Chinese goods to British shores and bringing their population with them, as well as flocking to the soon-to-be state of California for the 1849 gold rush and subsequent railroad construction. At this point, for the first time, England and her liberated children would come into mass contact with Chinese culture, often with mixed results. These relations weren't helped by what was dubbed the Boxer Rebellion that started in 1899, which was a homegrown revolt in China against Western culture, religion, and influence, which resulted in the deaths of over 32,000 Chinese and European Protestant, Catholic, and Orthodox Christians, and 100,000 deaths in the conflict overall, after a joint 8-nation alliance ended the rebellion in 1901. Cap, why the history lesson? Just get to the good stuff. Well, I give you the background to remind you that contact with the world around us has been pretty sparse up until the last few hundred years. America's founding lands smack dab in the middle of a grand age of travel, communication, discovery, and cultural curiosity. By the time of the final formation of the continental US in 1912, we had only been in regular contact with Chinese culture for 70-odd years, about a generation or two. And even then, those further east in the US wouldn't meet those travelers regularly until the opening of the Panama Canal in 1914. Britain wasn't too far off from this either. Despite a presence in India since the 1600s, most folks didn't make that voyage, and didn't meet Eastern culture until they showed up at their front door around the same time they did in the US. Being close-knit communities, as most immigrant cultures are, especially in early days, most citizens just didn't know what to make of them. This limited contact, combined with news of an attempted ousting of European culture, followed a decade later by a revolution that dethroned the long-standing Qing dynasty altogether in 1911, made a lot of people very nervous about China. This is the world that Romer created Fu Manchu in. And with his description of the doctor as,
imagine a person tall, lean, and feline, high-shouldered, with a brow like Shakespeare and a face like Satan.
Invest him with all the cruel cunning of an entire Eastern race, accumulated in one giant intellect with all the resources of science, past and present. Imagine that awful being and you have a mental picture of Fu Manchu, the yellow peril incarnate in one man. It's pretty tough to see Fu Manchu as anything else. Adaptations muddy the water as well. The 1932 film, based off of this book, started filming less than a month after the book's completion, and for decades has been a subject of controversy for its rhetoric and portrayal of Asia, and almost anyone who isn't British or American, as either subservient morons or evil debauched zealots. This led to a complaint from the Chinese embassy in Washington, D.C. about when the film was released, and subsequent complaints when it was re-released. Further film adaptations aren't helped in modern discourse by the fact that all but one live-action portrayal of Fu Manchu has been played by a white actor. What's really strange is how the novels seem to work against this. Smith and Fu Manchu have a grudging respect for one another, recognizing each other as worthy and honorable adversaries. A big deal is made about the Doctor's sense of honor, especially when it comes to his word. When a double cross is made, the crew is legitimately worried and dismayed that they weren't honorable in their side of the bargain.
I carried out my contract with Dr. Fu Manchu, Rima's life being the price at stake, in what I believed to be all honesty. Don't speak, Barton. Let me finish. Dr. Fu Manchu is the most ghastly menace to our present civilization, which has appeared since Attila the Hun. He is an old man, but by some miracle, which I can only ascribe to his gigantic willpower, he is as forceful today as he was in the first hour I ever set eyes upon him in the forest of Burma. That's greed. He has one virtue, according to his admittedly peculiar code. He is a man of honor. You know, Chief, I can see what Sir Dennis means, so don't boil over. We were in the wrong.
Fu Manchu, as well as his daughter, are shown to speak impeccable English, with very little, if any, accent.
His voice was as I remembered it, except that I thought it had acquired greater power. Guttural, but perfectly clear. He gave to every syllable its true value. Indeed, he spoke the purest English of any man I had ever heard.
In general, our villains and their henchmen are shown to be intelligent, resourceful, and never dumbed down to make our heroes look good. If we're thinking of straight propaganda, which is sometimes seemingly what Romer's writing is characterized as, your villains tend to vacillate between blood-sucking, baby-murdering evil and arrogant oversight, sometimes bordering on the buffoonish. But the villains Romer has crafted are all pretty three-dimensional, possessing both positive and negative qualities. The locals in any given location are usually portrayed as normal, sometimes helpful if a bit skittish, which in a world where information and language is still a pretty big barrier, is not unsurprising. Shan is what would be called at the time a half-caste, a man of mixed race, who is a proud member of the crew and about to marry the niece of a knighted British scholar. Hell, Romer is rather liberal in his portrayal of Shan and Rima as lovers before marriage, with her uncle thumbing his nose at Christian beliefs that would normally keep them apart.
Is there any special reason for this? No, she replied, kissed me on the chin and nestled down against me again. But I've promised, and if you're good, you'll be satisfied. Had Rima and I openly become lovers, I'm convinced he wouldn't have turned a hair. He was a wonderful old pagan, and his profound disrespect for ritual in any form had led to some awkward moments. Awkward, that is, for me, but apparently enjoyed by Sir Lionel.
Pretty cutting-edge stuff for the 1930s. Barton's paganism, as Shan puts it, even has a funny part in the eventual wedding at the end of the novel.
I am no believer in the marriage service, and neither is Sir Lionel. He would not for the price of a kingdom have taken those awful vows demanded by the priest, but he thoroughly enjoyed hearing me commit myself to that which he would have never undertaken.
The entire crew of heroes clearly have a respect and love of the culture of the East, dedicating their lives to exploring, not conquering it.
I know and love the Near East and its peoples, their arts and crafts, and the details of their domestic life. But this hair-splitting on a matter of dates is something quite outside my province.
A fascination held by Romer himself as he traveled that part of the world extensively on the profits from his books. What takes shape as you read is the views of a man of his era leaching into a classic adventure story, the verbiage and language used reflecting that. This isn't a leering, horrible, xenophobic story about the virtuous white savior besting the yellow-skinned tyrant. This is a tale of good versus evil in a wide, exotic world. Are the views regrettable? Sure. Does it play on people's fears of the unknown? Absolutely. Is it more complex than people say it is? I believe, yes. What you'll come across time and time again in experiencing old stories is the ideas you don't agree with. No doubt in years to come, people will see our stories and shake their heads at how truly backwards we were. So when reading novels from the past, it's good to remember that the author, in most cases, was doing what he thought was right. And often that'll come with a mix of good and bad. We hope that our children are as charitable to us. Guys like Romer, and similarly controversial writers like his contemporary H.P. Lovecraft, are long gone. All that remains is their work, and what each person chooses to make of it. The way I see it, when you eat a piece of meat, an adult is capable of eating the meat and spitting out the bones. It's up to each person to determine if there's enough meat on the bone to partake. In the case of Romer's work, I'd say there's more than enough. A final painting of the layers of Romer's creation comes when Shan, on his wedding day, confused and out of sorts amidst the high society, is informed he has a visitor that wishes to see him alone. A somewhat belated visitor, sir, wishes to add his congratulations on this happy day. Who is he, Bets? Jostled on all sides, I took up a card and read, Dr. Fu Manchu. And upon alighting to the study, he finds a package with an affixed note. To Mr. Shan Greyville, greeting. You have suffered at my hands because unwittingly you have sometimes obstructed me. I bear no ill will. Indeed, I respect you, for you are an honorable man, and I wish you every happiness. The pearls are for your bride,
They are the only perfectly matched set of 100 pink pearls in the world. The casket is also for her. She is beautiful, brave, and virtuous. A combination of qualities so rare that the woman possessing them is a jewel above price. It is set with 80 flawless diamonds and was made to the order of Catherine of Russia, who was brave, but neither beautiful nor virtuous. The ebony box is for you. It will interest Sir Lionel Barton. It bears engraved upon it the seal of King Solomon, and it came from his temple. The ring also I request you to accept. It is the signet ring of Khufu, supposed builder of the Great Pyramid. Commend me to Sir Dennis Nayland Smith, to Dr. Petrie, and to Cara Mana, his wife, and convey my good wishes to Superintendent Weymouth. I desire you every good fortune. Greeting and farewell, Fu Manchu.
Don't judge a book by its cover. I had a total blast reading this, and I'll probably be seeking out the other books too. It's a classic two-fisted adventure story in exotic locales, packed with characters you want to see. If you're willing to take the plunge, then dive right in. Only you can decide what is and isn't worth your time, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Also, check out the works of Phil Baker, who edited and compiled Lord of Strange Deaths, a series of essays on the character. William Patrick Maynard, the current shepherd of the Fu Manchu novels, has a great blog, and his writings and interviews on the character prove a rock-solid resource if you'd like to know more. Next time, back to Heroes with the King of the Hard-Boiled, as we unravel a case with Philip Marlowe. Show him some guts.